Item is the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters. Status reports or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member or any person in attendance may request that an item be removed for further consideration.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If we could, item 3B4 and item 3E8.
I move approval with those deletion or exceptions accepted.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, that passes unanimously, 5-0. Mr. Skipworth.
Thank you. Would it be, Mr. Daly, for item 3B4, could you just kind of provide an overview of the program, please?
Certainly. The Department of Water and Power is recommending an award of request for proposals for DWP 14118SL for SCADA integration services to South Coast Systems in the amount of $600,000 and Tesco Systems in the amount of $400,000. These recommended annual amounts are for each of the next 5 fiscal years, beginning with fiscal year 14-15. These annual dollar amounts represent a not-to-exceed value for 2 as-needed purchase agreements with each of these firms, but not necessarily the actual amount that will be paid to each of them annually. That amount will be determined by the actual work performed and billed in any given year. The process utilized to select these firms was a formal request for proposal for professional services. The request for proposal was formally advertised on March 24, 2014, in the press enterprise when it was posted on the city's website under bid opportunities and emailed to 3 companies that either were currently or had previously provided these services to the Department of Water Power in a satisfactory manner. 5 proposals were received by the due date of April 23, 2014. DWP staff evaluated and scored each proposal according to the following criteria and weighted each as indicated. Qualifications of the firm, 30%. Qualifications of the assigned personnel, 20%. Related experience to system integrations, which included example projects, 30%, response time, 10%, and reasonableness of cost and price, 10%. The evaluation process scored South Coast Systems and Tesco highest with an overall score of 98% and 90% respectively. Although the scoring criteria is more heavily weighted towards qualifications and experience, both firms scored high in the evaluation criteria of reasonableness of cost and price. South Coast Systems scored the highest, and Tesco was within the top 3 in this category. The Department of Water and Power Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, also referred to as SCADA, is a control system consisting of a combination of industrial-grade programmable logic controllers, a computer-based software system, and secure local and wide-area networks that allow staff to remotely monitor and control all of the utilities, facilities, and equipment from various centralized locations. The SCADA system reduces our need for operational labor requirements while vastly improving the operational efficiency and effectiveness of our utility. The system provides reliable, redundant, and secure means of operating, controlling, and monitoring all of our 6 large treatment systems and 70+ ancillary facilities. The requested integration service before you tonight the requested integration service proposals before you tonight are a key component of ensuring that our SCADA system remains reliable, redundant, and secure while enabling continued integration of refinements, enhancements, and additions of new and upgraded facilities and equipment. These integrators will be providing routine maintenance, security updates and enhancements, programming and integration for expansion and new facilities, and replacement of control systems that have reached the end of their life. The Department of Water and Power over the next 5 years has major new capital facilities coming online, including Water Reclamation Number 2 tertiary filtration system, the Ion Exchange Water Treatment Facility, and the Mangular Booster. In addition, we have major replacement projects of control-related components at Water Reclamation Plant 1, Sierra del Oro Water Filtration Facility, and most of our sewage lift stations and some of our water boosters and water production wells. All of these projects will require utilization of integration services providers that have knowledge of our system, are familiar with our methodologies with respect to programming and configuration and security that will have, and security, and that will have the knowledge, experience, and wherewithal to make it happen in a timely, cost-effective, and efficient manner. DWP has significant past experience with both firms, and both are highly regarded by staff and in our industry for quality and value. Based on our experience with maintaining the existing system and a review of the future DWP-funded and developer-funded capital projects for DWP, it is recommended that council approve the recommended actions. That concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Daly, very much. I just want to clarify a couple of things. This is for work and services that are not currently being handled by staff within your department. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And these are services and work tasks that you anticipate to occur on a regular basis over the next 5 years.
That's correct. Correct. Some are ongoing maintenance that will always occur, and some are part of large capital projects or replacement projects that are occurring.
Okay, and that leads into my next question, which was, part of this is based upon your anticipated capital project schedule that will be coming online over those next 5 years.
That's correct.
Okay. And you identified, I think, one key element that, and I believe it's on page 2 of the analyses, that the SCADA system reduces labor requirements while vastly improving the operational efficiency and effectiveness of our utility, which I'm sure that it does. Do you anticipate any effect to your current workforce within the Department of Water and Power over the next 5 years as a result of bringing SCADA online?
Well, the SCADA is online. We operate a smaller staff than we ever had previously administered, even though our system has continued to grow. So would there be workforce reductions associated with this? No, there would be more operational efficiencies associated with it. We have the minimum, we have the number of staff we need based on the SCADA system. There is a certain amount of oversight that has to be done. We operate 2 per shift for both water and wastewater, and that is the minimum we need to operate those systems. They're
Okay.
there for, the system tells them when there's issues, and they're monitoring it, but they have to be there because of the complexity and the size of it.
Very good. And so just to kind of recharacterize it, you don't anticipate any reduction in your workforce to be able to accommodate bringing the SCADA system online in its full capacity?
No, sir.
Thank you. The positions that were prescribed between the two vendors, the two selected vendors, those positions do not currently exist within your workforce to the extent that they're available to work in a primary assignment with the SCADA system?
That's correct.
All right. And then just to make sure that I'm clear in going through, because there was a lot of pages in this week's packet, as you know. This particular project, this program, is for 2 vendors, one for $600,000, the other for $400,000, a total of $1 million for 5 consecutive years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the schedule of additional charges that may come as a result of that, if I heard you correctly in your staff report, you do not anticipate any of those charges to exceed, you don't anticipate those charges to exceed what you're projecting the contracted amount for?
That's correct. Not at this time.
Okay. That's it for me right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Daly.
Mr. Day, this is not new, is it?
No, we've operated the SCADA system in some form for a significant amount of time.
I think since 2002? Is that what the records
Yeah.
are saying?
Yeah.
So we've been doing this, and this is for 5 years. What was the average that we've been paying in the past? Because this is as needed. This is not an ongoing, it's as needed, correct?
Yeah, so if you look at the last 3 years, we spent about $300,000 in 11-12, $440,000 in 12-13, and thus far through this, we're about $320,000.
So this is just business as normal that we've been doing for 12 years already, that we're going to move forward and continue
There
this
is a
on?
lot of big projects in this next couple of years that require larger amounts of integration. There's significant facilities going online. There's aging systems, industrial programming, logic controller systems that have reached the end of their life that need to be replaced. They've served us good. They've served us well over their life, but they now need to be replaced with modern, up-to-date systems, and those will require reprogramming and new integration because the old programs don't translate. It's kind of like taking an old Windows program and throwing it into a new computer. It doesn't work very well. And this old software in new computers doesn't work very well. So the same type of approach here. When you get a new components, you didn't have to revisit what you were doing. If you were upgrading the city's finance system from a legacy system, you'd have to go through this. So it's both the capital projects as well as the upgrades of the components.
Thank you. Skipworth?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Daly, thank you for clarifying that, because in part it's your projections, the bids that you sought out are to address what you're looking back at a 3-year history, and you're very confident in those figures of where the activity has effectively come back at, as well as the additional capital projects that will be coming online. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And some of that is either preparatory work or first phases of a larger scope of work that will continue on throughout that 5-year period? Correct.
When a capital project is developed, it comes with process instrumentation diagrams, and we base the scope of it. It's based on the amount of I/O or input-output devices, points on how big or complex the system is, and we can gauge how much it would cost to integrate those systems into our, integrate those new systems as well as the old systems. We know how big they are. And when we're replacing those components, it's just a matter of updating the software, for lack of a better way of looking at it.
Right. And so the totality of that represents the significant expansion in the contractual agreements that you're having to put in place.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate your time and your answers very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll, if there are no other questions, I'll be happy to go ahead and recommend the item for approval.
Please vote. Okay, that passes unanimously, 5-0. And the next one you said was E8?
3E8, yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's a resolution?
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, is that one that you would like to?
Yes,
Very good.
I'd be happy to address that. Over the years, the council's adopted several resolutions which essentially guide our records retention, records destruction process. And these policies and resolutions provide for the destruction of obsolete records on an annual basis pursuant to Government Code 34090. An inventory of obsolete records is compiled by each department and submitted to the city clerk for review and forwarded to the city attorney for final review and approval before being presented to the city council for authorization to destroy the listed obsolete records. The records proposed for destruction are obsolete and past the obligatory retention period and are no longer required. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council approve the destruction of these obsolete records. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Irvine. And then just to clarify, or to make sure that I understand it correctly, this protocol is a normal and regularly scheduled cycle of activity that we do as a city for those environments, for example, like the police department or the fire department, that have certain records that they retain, and they have their own governmental directives or mandates to purge records after a certain period of time. This covers that and allows us to take care of those functions.
That is correct, and there's certain legal requirements that come into play with which records we can destroy and which records we must retain. And as I mentioned, the city attorney reviews all of those to make sure that we're in compliance not only with our code, but within the law.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that a motion?
Move approval of E8,
Second.
Please vote.
3E8.
Okay, that passes unanimously, 5-0.